non-verbal sing.
Yeah.
Incredible woman. I adore her. She is the head of, she did this TV series, Britain's Strictest Head. Carol, let me come to you on this because it's a fascinating case. She's in the Supreme Court. What do you make of it?
You know what? I think this woman is incredible, and I mean, she is the best head in the country, I think, and she runs undoubtedly one of the best schools in the country. And what she has done, she banned Muslim prayer in the playground. And she's been taken to court for that. One of the students is taking her to court and saying that she doesn't feel like she belongs in this country anymore, which I think is tosh. But anyway, but you know, her argument, Catherine's argument is that it's not discriminatory. She's saying that what she did is not discriminatory. What she's saying is that there was, after the kids were seen praying in the playground, there were lots of complaints. People started to complain that, and I suspect it was the local residents were saying this was Islamophobia. They were lobbing bottles over the wall.
Really appalling.
One teacher had a brick thrown through a window. Teachers were literally in fear of their lives. This is what Catherine is saying. Now, and what she did to stop that was to stop the praying outside. Now, and I've talked about this week, and somebody's saying, why can't they have a prayer room inside? You know, Britain is a secular state, and as such, state institutions are separate from religious institutions. There's no compulsion on her to have to allow all religions to exercise.
And if she created a prayer room for the Muslim kids, what about the Jewish kids?
Exactly.
What about the Hindu
Christian kids?
The Christian kids.
And
Where does this end?
Statement, doesn't she, Dawn?
It wasn't a discrimination against any religion.
Quite.
As Catherine says, it is a school. I do not discriminate on a child's religion or their race. They come here to learn, no matter what religion or race they are.
Yeah.
And that is what she was concentrating on. That was what makes her school and her as a headmistress one of the best in the country. So this is not even about the religion of Islam. It is about all religions. And obviously the ritual nature of praying, if you are a Muslim, is much more demanding, 5 times a day, etc., than maybe a Christian child or a Jewish child maybe praying once a day. So that was the only issue why the Islam side of it has been focused on.
You could see a situation developing, and I think this is what Catherine probably saw as well, that we saw in Batley in Yorkshire. Do you remember where there was the discrimination against that teacher who's still
in hiding, by the way.
Yes, that's
who's had
right.
to change his name, had to move with these kids, and there were accusations of Islamophobia then. So I think she wanted to nip all that in the bud, which is why she stopped it in the playground.
And she says in her statement, we have Jehovah's Witness families who've objected to Macbeth as a GCSE text. She said, we've got Christian families who don't want us to hold GCSE revision sessions on Sundays. We've got Hindu families who've objected to dinner plates touching eggs. And she basically says, I don't tolerate any of it. I don't discriminate against any of it. It's why she's so brilliant.
It's why she should have been. Michael Gove was a big fan of hers when he was Education Secretary. She'd have been a brilliant education
Well, she was the social mobility czar, wasn't she? And she stepped back and said she couldn't get anything done.
Case. That's what I'd like to, because I think this is about getting her. I think this is someone is out to get her, because it just seems very unusual to me that a pupil would take this to court.
Yeah, but we were saying also, if she loses, does that then is then a compunction on other public buildings to create automatically a Muslim prayer room?
But this is a secular state.
We
can't.
And it's also not a Muslim country.
Religion and state has got to be separate.
And we're not a Muslim country.
We're not a Muslim country.
Now then.
So here's the latest, folks, in the fascinating case happening in Great Britain, in North London, the Michiela School, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, where the headmistress of probably one of the best public schools, not just in London, but in the entire country, folks. The case is going to Supreme Court, and as you just heard in the video piece before, which I want to get to before I get to this article, is this is the latest stuff. This is 17th of January. So this is just yesterday, basically. And this is going to have some significant ramifications for the separation of church and state in England. But just to get a couple of things from the video, you know, when they were talking about, I mean, it is absolutely appalling. And I would say that everybody would agree that for the residents in that locality to be throwing bricks through windows, bottles over the fences in protest of this, that should not be tolerated at all. There are other ways of protesting, and perhaps they did. I'm not sure. I didn't see anything in terms of what they did in terms. I'm sure they went to the headmistress, they went to the school or whatever. the residents that were not Muslims. But to have that type of an outburst to this is not helping anybody, at all, and it's just, hurting the situation, even more. Now, getting the fact about the school prayer. Look, folks, in Islam or whatever, if you got to pray 5 times a day. But we're only talking about one prayer during the school time, which is at noon, and you don't have to do it on time. If there's something that's preventing you from doing it, you can make it up later. There's no compulsion saying you've got to pray at this time. And the prayer times are not like a specific time or minute. It's basically, a certain hour period. So for that prayer in school, it could happen anytime. In fact, that prayer probably could be done depending upon what time school ends. You could probably be praying it at home. So that's it. And then the other thing is that, just like they said, if you allow the Muslim kids to do this, then the Christian kids are going to ask. The Hindu says, well, what if a Hindu child says that he wants to bring his, temple? They have, they're like a portable temple that they can bring, and he puts it out in the playground, and he decides to do his ritual there, even though it's on free time, and he decides to do it, right? And then what if the Jewish student wants to do it? Oh, here's one. What if an atheist wants to bring a billboard out and put out there and pray to whatever atheists pray to? Or agnostic comes out there and says, you know what? And starts to say that you're not supposed to be doing any of this. What happens if somebody's a member of the Church of Satan? It's happened here in the United States of America, where they have Satan clubs now, because they said if you've got Christian clubs after school, well, you should allow for agnostic, atheists, Satan clubs after school. And they're setting those up because it's a public domain. It's a public area. Now, after school, but still, they've won those cases. So that's basically all I'm saying here. And this should be squashed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court just said, absolutely not. It doesn't matter. And if that girl who brought this case, and I think there's somebody behind her, I agree with the commentator there. If that girl doesn't feel she believes in England, everybody should chip in, buy her a ticket for her and her family, or whoever doesn't feel that way, you know what? And then just leave. And just leave. And if those Muslim families don't like this ruling, take your kids out of one of the best public schools in London and put them into private schools. That's all you have to do. Simple as that. But anyways, let's get to this. So reversing prayer ban would expose school to high risk, court says. Very nice building, as I said before. For you folks that are watching this over across the pond in England, you probably know about this. Looks like a very nice building, very nice area. As I said, one of the best schools in London, public schools. And basically they're saying is that the High Court was told that if you reverse this emergency decision to ban prayer rituals, it's going to expose it to an unacceptable risk of threats, which in itself is just appalling to begin with, that they would be facing threats like this, that people couldn't try to, coordinate their protests in a peaceful manner. But unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in now. So it was challenged over a policy about a prayer ban. It's not a prayer ban. I mean, it is a prayer ban, but it is not against, now you could say it's against, the Islamic religion or whatever. But this teacher is basically saying it wouldn't have mattered who came forward. It just happened to be that it was a Muslim person who came forward. But if a Christian person asked for this, a Jewish person, atheist, agnostic, Hindu, a Buddhist, Taoist, whatever it is, she would have still said no. Obviously, they said the people can't be named for legal reasons. Alleges the school stance on prayers was a kind of discrimination which makes religious minorities feel alienated from a society. Oh, tears. You know what, honey? If you don't like it, that's just tough. But there is a separation of church and state. Now, her lawyers said she was making a modest request to pray for about 5 minutes at lunchtime on dates when faith rules it, but not during the lessons. But the school's lawyers, they claimed, the policy was justified and proportionate. after it faced death and bomb threats. And besides that, which is unbelievable in itself, death and bomb threats, that somebody's actually making those is just absolutely appalling. But besides the fact, as I said before, you can't cater to one, you're going to have to cater to all. Just like the commentator said, there were Jehovah's Witness students that said they didn't like a textbook that was being there. There were other Christian students talking about, things on Christianity. The Hindu students were saying in terms of, the eggs were touching, the plates because of dietary restrictions. I was wondering, what about the Muslim students? I don't know, do they have halal food there or kosher food there for the Jewish students? Or what about if you're vegan and you're a strict vegan? What do you do then? You can't you can't incorporate everything for everybody. Amazing, amazing. And basically, to give you a little heads up, if you didn't realize, back in March of 2023, about 30 students began praying. It took action on the prayer ritual due to concerns about a cultural shift towards segregation between religious groups and intimidation within the groups of Muslim pupils. So there's Muslim students that are intimidating other Muslim students. You don't see Christian students intimidating Christian students, or Jewish students intimidating Jewish students, or Hindu students. What if there's a Sikh that wears a turban on his head and other Hindus don't? And the Sikhs do. Just the court told that now she used to be a former social mobility czar, and from what I'm being told and what I've read, is that this lady, Catherine Birbal Singh, is an absolutely fantastic teacher. And as I said, she's a headmistress, the head of the school at one of the best schools, in London. Now, it says that Jason Capel, representing the School Community Trust, told the court that the head teacher acted in an emergency situation and returning the policy would create unacceptable risk. She said that back in March, that the Muslim children were observed to be applying peer pressure to other Muslim children to act in certain ways. One student who had never previously worn a headscarf was pressured into wearing one. That should never, ever freaking happen at all. That is completely freaking wrong. We're bullying now. What happened to bullying laws? One Muslim pupil dropped out of the school's choir. She was told it was haram. That's not true. But see, this is what's happening. So these Muslim parents, and it's same appalling on the side of the Muslim parents of these, the same as you talk about the people in the community that are not Muslim, that are either threatening violence or, have, thrown bottles or rocks or whatever. That's terrible. But just as equally terrible are those Muslim parents, Muslim families that are telling their kids, that are condoning this behavior of bullying other children, other Muslim students that don't want to do what they're doing and just want to go there to learn, to go to school and have fun and learn something. They're being told that probably you're not a good enough Muslim. You better do what we're doing. And it basically says that the impact on Muslim pupils was fully appreciated, adding the school expressly considered equality's implications. So Miriam Benitez, representing the Brent Council, said its arguments continue to remain neutral over the legal dispute and attended the hearing as an interested observer. So the hearing before Mr. Justice Linden has now ended. They say a ruling is expected as quickly as possible at a later date. So basically, folks, that's what you have right now. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already and you like our content, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. You all know what to do. Comment below. Let us know what you think. Are you for the ban or are you against the ban? Check out our other video links above and below. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.